Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Fandom Post Radio Podcast. I am your engineer, Kate, and joining me this week is Brandon.
Hello.
Kestrel.
Yo.
And Kane.
Good evening.
We are here to talk about the spring 2024 anime season. We haven't even touched on this season yet, so this will be exciting. But first, do we have any news?
There's just one piece of news that I thought was worth addressing, and that is that after over 7 years since its announcement, that Yuri on Ice movie is finally officially never happening.
Oh my god. Yeah.
Ugh.
Oh, did that finally get an official get fucked?
Yes.
All right. Yeah.
You're
I mean,
good.
it was inevitable, but
Yeah.
It's like we were born to not make history.
Really depressing in so many ways that was just I guess the whole problem with Yuri on Ice is that it was super, super popular, made a lot of money, just not for the animation studio.
Yeah, but I mean, like, were they the main producers behind the film? Because if it made someone money and they were making the film too, then it shouldn't really matter if the animation studio... I guess if MAPPA just wants to focus on their own productions now, maybe that's why.
Yeah, I don't know. It's disappointing. But I guess not everything needs, like, sequels, prequels.
Yeah. It's not like it's, like an unfinished story. Like, it didn't need to have anymore.
Yeah. A movie would have been nice, though.
Yeah. I would have liked it for sure.
Yeah. What was it called?
Yeah,
like Adolescence something?
Yeah, Ice
Icy.
Adolescence.
Yeah.
Yuri, it's like a Dragon Ball superhero. It was Yuri on Ice Adolescence.
They should have just called it on Yaoi on Ice and called it a day.
Yeah, pretty
Always
much.
has been.
I guess they admitted they didn't really have they couldn't come up with a decent story, and I guess they couldn't execute on a decent story. It's like,
Man,
Wild.
why admit that?
I was like,
Yeah.
I mean, it's just so strange because it's like, it was just supposed to be a prequel about Victor, right? Seems like it would have been easy to do. It's like, yeah, just have him like how he rose up through the ranks and became like a superstar.
It's basically it's a sports anime. Just follow the formula.
Yeah.
Tournament arc, baby.
Maybe they were worried without the romance angle, there was no point. I don't know.
Yeah.
tournament arc where the one that was supposed to win doesn't win, even though they have a much better routine.
I still think it's hilarious that show got my college friend into ice skating, and she's still ice skating. So, I mean, that is the legacy of Yuri on Ice.
That's wild.
It was very popular for its time.
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe they'll give it another crack, and God knows how long.
Yeah,
I wonder how much material they have.
it sounds like they didn't really come up with anything, right? It's not based on anything, so...
So they were just
I wonder if it was ever actually an active production, or if it was just like being around like in production forever.
Right.
it was just a post-it note on one guy's computer for the past couple of years.
Probably.
Yeah. You like dusted it off. He's like, "Oh shit, guys, I forgot."
Pretty much.
All right.
So much for boy on boy ice skating. The time has passed. We have moved on to
Yeah, it definitely kind of missed its moment.
the moment is gone. We are past that. We are now back to regularly scheduled spring season of 1.5 million shows.
Yeah, the season definitely took its toll already. But hey, I at least already dropped some things, so that's good.
That's always the highlight.
Cleaning the slate off a bit feels good.
It's never about the shows that's good. It's about the catharsis of dropping a show that's awful.
For real.
But we can just jump right into it then, because as previously stated, there is quite a bit going on this season to varying amounts of quality. So I'm sure we will be able to talk about a few things here. The first show I actually want to talk about was Bartender, because I didn't think you
Nice.
guys would watch this.
Oh
I
no,
didn't
this
think
is
Kestra was going to watch this at all. But
Yeah, I know, right?
yeah, that was like, as soon as I started watching the first episode, I mean, I've seen the old series, even though the old series and this series are quite different, because the old one didn't really follow the manga too much. It was more like an art housey type thing.
Mm.
And this is more of just following the manga as it plays out. But I was just watching the first episode, and I'm like, yeah, this is not up his alley. I know when we talk about this, it's gonna be at the bottom of his list. It'll be a C at best.
And you were
Yep.
right on both counts.
Yep, nailed it. Even though C plus, I'm relatively surprised by the C plus. Not that I think it's particularly fantastic either. I'd rate it a little bit higher if I, did ratings. I guess it might be in the B range somewhere. But I also like mixology, so that there is a little bit of personal bias in there, which is definitely, you can tell where whatever budget they had for animation art went is in the people's hands.
Literally, the second he started shaking the mixer, I was like, "Oh, there it is."
Yeah, shaking the mixer or stirring the drink with the spoon, the long spoon. I was like, yeah, baby, this is where all that money went.
Yeah.
And the incredible detail on every bottle.
That I was surprised that they actually have real liquors and everything, which
That was going to be
almost
my next question. I'm like, did they all have real liquors? Is it all real
Yeah.
liquor brands?
Yep, they're all 100% real. They show them a lot because I
They do
assume
not
they had
hide the giant bottle of Jack Daniels on the shelf.
yeah, giant
like,
bottles of
if
Jack
you're-
Daniels.
Yeah, if
Smirnoff,
you're a liquor company and it's like, hey, we're gonna give you free product placement and only show you what a good line, it's gonna be like, hell yeah, okay, you can use my liquor.
Yeah, but that hasn't stopped Whack Donald's for decades of anime, so
I
it's
know
weird.
that's true.
Well, Whack Donald's is real life canon now. So.
It is now. It is
Yeah.
canon. Yeah.
Those.
I know. I should have gone to the pop up when they had it here.
But yeah, like this show just, I think it's decent. I would probably give it like a B- or so. I'm not particularly fond of any of the characters. It's really just, I like it as a sort of wind down show. It feels like as close to an adult Iyashike show as you can get, where it's not cute girls doing cute things. It's just adults going to fancy bars and getting a drink that solves all of their current social issues. But yeah, it's interesting that so much of the animation, everything is put into the hands and the drinking, just because of like the drinking mixing bit, because most everything else looks pretty mediocre.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I guess in a show like this, I don't really mind that, because it's also, a lot of the people don't do anything anyway. It's a lot of sitting and standing and talking, so I don't necessarily require it to look 100% pristine from a lot of those angles. It's bound to just be a lot of still shots of people watching a Sazerac or something being made, and then talking about how delicious it is or whatever. Though I always like how the bartender guy, the main character, is basically like Sherlock Holmes.
Yep.
Because
Yes,
they'll
that's
walk in,
wild.
he'll be like, I noticed you were wearing your watch reverse and you had a slight
Exactly.
fever. I'm like, how the fuck?
Exactly.
It's definitely sorry, I wanted to say one more thing and then I'll kick
Yeah,
it
you're
over to you,
good.
Brent. It definitely romanticizes the cocktail experience in a lot of ways, and not in a whole romanticizing drinking. I really don't think the show does that a whole lot, because people only drink like one cocktail and then leave most of the time. It's definitely more of, maybe it's just a product of, I haven't found any yet in the cities that I've been in, but finding bars like the ones that they work at is like impossible unless you're gonna spend a shitload of money and just kind of know people. Like, I've been to some fancier bars, but for the most part, they're always packed. It's not just like, here's a place like the Yakuza games where there's just 4 stools.
Yeah.
And
that's the
they're
thing, at
like
this point,
velour.
that exclusivity is gone because of like Instagram Reels and TikTok. It's like, oh, well, somebody found this cool divey like hush hush spot, and now everybody knows about it.
Yeah, or this high class, cocktail place where they'll make anything you can think of perfectly, and it's like, oh, well, now it's packed just like your example brand, but also I'm paying $30
Yeah.
for a drink, which is quite a bit. So if I'm paying that premium, I want an experience like in this show where it's just like me and the bartender, and he's just reading me like an open book the whole time. It's interesting in the show, though, that it doesn't shy away from the existence of social media. It just seems to also exist in a bubble where social media doesn't affect any of them in that way. Like, they routinely bring up, Google ratings or Instagram to see where these bartenders are at, but every time they go, the places are almost completely empty.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't feel, and I don't know if that is like a production thing, but a lot of the bars I feel like are missing the lived-in mystique of
Yeah.
and like uniqueness of bars, or just like having a bunch of like weird patrons, like every walk of life person in there kind of thing.
Yeah, especially the music bar they went to learn about. The one girl could learn about how everybody makes a martini a little bit differently, so it's just a metaphor for like everybody has different tastes, and making a drink by the book or anything by the book isn't necessarily what people want or what you should strive for. But that was a music bar where people go to dance and they walk in and there's no music and nobody around.
They're just like playing it through a tin can in the background. It's like,
Yeah,
see,
pretty much.
music.
I did think that was funny. It's like, I don't go to a place like this for martini. I go for music and dance. I'm like, I don't think you do that either.
Yeah, and if you are, you're going there to get like a 12-ounce tall boy light beer for $3.
Yeah, pretty much. You're getting your Miller Lite or your Keystone or whatever, and you're just going ham on that dartboard back there.
Yeah. I feel basically the same as you, Kane, just because I feel like I also, as you could see on my list, gave it like a C+, and I feel like that is very much because it's very just like, it's not a very impressive looking show by any means, and like it's not like moving at any kind of like intriguing, like there's not some like overarching plot that's like very much like keeping you locked in, but I enjoy it for the same reasons as like I love mixology and like trying different kinds of cocktails and stuff. And I feel like my enjoyment of the show is a little higher than where I rated it, just because like I literally randomly got some stuff from my fridge and like made a little cocktail to watch the first 2 episodes. So like it's 100% like you said, like a wind down show.
Mm-hmm.
Just it's not gonna look crazy or sound crazy or anything, but it's just gonna be a man with a very like silky voice explaining to you the history of this drink, and it's
pretty much,
and that's like exactly what I wanted it to be, really. And it is funny having that like Sherlock Holmes element of it, of him being like, I know exactly the drink you need.
Yeah, which is funny because if you go into any bar and say make something for a stiff neck, they're gonna look at you like you're insane.
Yeah, they're gonna spit in your drink. That's what they'll do.
Like I've like I said, I've been to bars of various qualities and like fancifulness, but for the most part, you just tell them what you want and they make it for you.
Yeah.
Like most bartenders don't like being put on the spot like that because they obviously don't know what you like or don't like, and they're not going to be able to tell that, oh, you ran here a little bit, so you're slightly flushed, which means I need to make this drink at a little bit above room temperature.
Yeah, I feel like that kind of experience is a specific place. Like you're like paying a cover to like go to a special bartender who like that's his thing. He just like whips up crazy shit for you to post on your story.
Mm-hmm.
Well, like if you go into any normal bar and do that, the minimum wage person behind the bar is gonna be like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah, unless you just get really lucky and you happen to find someone who truly loves doing bartending stuff and it's a slow night. Like you can get similar experiences where they'll talk to you, ask you what you like, suggest things for you. But if you go and it's busy, they're not gonna do that for you. They're just gonna want to hear the drink you want and then make it for you and then go on to the next person.
Yeah, it's really at the end of the day a service, but this show is like really showing it as an art form. Which
Yeah, this
I
show is the
appreciate.
dream, really. This show
Yeah.
is what the dream experience would be.
Yeah, and I like shows like this just because there's really not much like it in anime. Because,
No.
like you said, it's like there's plenty of shows for showing like cute girls doing mundane things, but like anytime alcohol is usually ever referenced in an anime, it's done as a joke, and usually the characters, they get too wasted and they puke, and that's the whole bit. And it's like, no, like just give me a nice cocktail to
teacher
sip
in
on.
Yuru camp.
Yeah.
Their advisor in Yuru camp.
Yeah, that's a archetype. The same character exists in Bocchi the Rock. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what makes it nice here. I agree with you, Bran, is that it's just a sort of a celebration of the art form of mixing cocktails and the history of some of them, like where they came from, when they were discovered, or the weirdness that some went through to get to where they are now. And it's done a good job, I think, at least in the realm of the main character, and that it doesn't feel super pretentious, except that one guy whose name is Mr. Perfect. He is an asshole.
Yeah.
That dude sounds insufferable. Like, I would not go to his bar, because it sounds like I'm going to order a drink and it'll taste good, and then he's just going to glare at me the whole time until I leave.
Yeah.
Like, that's not the experience. I like the other guy's experience where he seems very warm, and granted, he doesn't make textbook drinks. It's because he's trying to make a drink that you'll love in that particular moment, even if it's not the way that it quote-unquote should be made.
So you said you had seen the original Bartender show?
I have, yep.
So far, how would you compare them? Do you like one more than the other?
I think they're actually kind of hard to compare, because it's one of those things where the main characters are all the same, but the original one wasn't even really trying to give you any type of story or arc. It felt very much like I'm just watching a guy make drinks, and the art and animation would get weird sometimes. Like, it felt almost experimental.
Yeah.
Which is why a lot of people didn't really like it as much, because it didn't follow the manga and didn't really try to. It was just like they lifted the characters and the locations and then just did other shit with it. While this is much more, even if it doesn't have much of an overarching plot, it still is trying to tell you a story with established characters and things. So from that standpoint, I like that one. I like the new one a little bit better, but the old one I think was more visually entertaining. And
honestly, the old one I feel like fits the bill for like what you. I understand if you like read the source material, you want the show to follow, but I feel like this kind of show works in that like vignette style where you just it's just we're gonna chill. I'm gonna make a drink. It's gonna get kind of weird.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it is. It's like, it's gonna get a little weird. My hands are gonna start doing weird motions that look almost, rotoscoped sometimes.
I'll have to check out the old one at some point.
It is enjoyable in that respect. It's just, it wasn't super popular when it came out, so it got more of a kind of a cult status in that way. Especially because, as you were mentioning earlier, a show like this is relatively rare and has a pretty, I guess I would call, narrow demographic.
Yeah.
Like, you're not going to get cute girls doing cute things in this. There isn't much of a story. It's really emotionally downplayed a lot. Like, nobody really does much of anything that gives you highs or lows. It's people just kind of drinking and then discussing the career and art that is bartending, at least at a place where it's super duper fancy.
Yeah, I do find it funny that the two main girls, their job is to like go get drunk and then go get drunk somewhere else and then go get drunk somewhere else until they find the guy.
Yeah, now that they found the guy, it's like, how do we get this flighty, aloof dude to work at our hotel bar instead of this little hole in the wall place that he has set up?
Yeah.
And he's just lying to them and all this stuff. Like, I do think think that is a little bit better than the original series, where he's getting some type of a little bit of background, but he's lying to them about stuff. Other than he just wants to be a bartender, so there is a little bit of that going on. But yeah, overall, am enjoying it.
Yeah, this is definitely a like long day of work, like dim the lights and throw it on kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. I would agree there. I did a thing similar to you actually, Brian. Not for this show, but when Night is Young, Walk On Girl was in the theaters.
Oh, yeah.
And I know what that's all about. I got a huge cup of Coca-Cola from the movie theater, snack bar or whatever, but then I brought in 2 airport bottles of rum and dumped those in while I was sitting there watching it, because I'm like, I'm a part of the experience.
That's amazing.
And I was the only one in the theater, so I could have done anything I wanted, really, which is what I expected. Yeah. I was the single person. They could have shut that movie off in the middle of it.
I love that.
Yeah. So you gave it a C+, Kestrel, as well. So you obviously find something redeeming about it. Even if minor.
I think I'm like the exact opposite of Bran. I think my C+ is much higher than my enjoyment level of the show, whereas it's much lower for him. And it's because of our individual biases towards the material. And yeah, I mean, I think it is somewhat interesting and competently produced, and I can understand why it has its appeal. So, I try to look at it from the perspective that I do, like sports anime, which I love many of, even though I don't care about sports at all, because I can care about a story as long as I believe that the characters care enough about the material, and they clearly do here. In this case, it's a little bit harder because it's not just that I don't care about alcohol, it's like my ethics are misaligned with it. So it's a little harder for me to kind of embrace the appeal of it and understand that perspective, or at least empathize with the perspective, even if I can sympathize with it. So that's why I'm trying to be open-minded about it, but in practice, it is a lot of things that I don't appreciate in our society, kind of being... I don't know, put on this high pedestal. So yeah, it's an interesting conflict of ethics for me, and I might drop it before too long. We'll see.
That's fair. I feel like if you don't like drinking, like the show is not worth watching, because the story really isn't gonna, at least from what I'm feeling, like that's not the reason why most people are gonna watch it.
See, what I was hoping for is like, obviously I do not go to bars, but there is this, at least fantasy that exists in media, that a bartender is kind of like a much more passive therapist, right? People go there at the end of their long day and tell them about their problems, and maybe a bartender like this can give them, some sagely wisdom. But it's really just about the alcohol here. They're really just fawning over how you can mix certain alcohol and make it taste really good and whatever. So it's not what I hoped it had the potential to be, at least thus far.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping it would be like it's like mushishi but at a bar.
Yeah, right.
It's like a random spirit, or like a random drunkard or person walks in, tells their story. It's like a vignette type thing where it's like it's a one-off, they tell their life story, and then he just like slides the drink over to them and everything's all better.
Although this is not at all the plot of this anime, just the thought of mushishi at a bar just makes me think Death Parade.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking as well. And I'm on the opposite side of what you guys said. I'm glad it didn't really do that in kind of where it's going, because we have shows that do that already. And I don't know if I would trust this show to do that particularly well, like to do a whole mushishi but in a bar. And I'm kind of glad it's not, because I'm seeing it in more of a this is like Food Wars sans the fan service, where it's just like we're celebrating the idea of all of these drinks and everything, and I kind of like that, and it keeps it simplistic rather than trying to get into like heady psychological or moralistic stories and things, especially because at that point I can't imagine you would do much in the bar other than the bar is just a setting and the bartender doesn't really do much of anything except you would spend 15 out of the 15 minutes of the vignette, if you split the episode in two, so I guess close to 10, you'd mainly be hearing a sad story and then he says some platitude and then the other person would be like, wow, gee, you really fixed
cured
my life.
depression.
Yeah, and then leaves.
Yeah.
For here, it's just, man, I had a shit day at work. Well, here, let me make you this drink that should relax you. Oh, it did. Thank you. And then they leave. Like, I think there's some beauty in the simplicity of what this is, even if I do also agree with Kestrel. It's really just more about this cocktail is really cool.
Yeah, I think that's the part I like most about it, and it's one of those things that you mentioned the Yakuza games earlier. That's like one of my favorite little tidbits is you can like walk into a bar and like take a shot of scotch and then ask the bartender about it, and then they just describe this literal real life scotch to you, and you're like, okay, I didn't need to know that, but that's cool that you told me it.
Yeah, and the bars all have, just like they try to do in the show, the same in the Yakuza games, there are 4 or 5 stools. Everything is like velvety and nice, like deep wood tones all around you. It feels like such an intimate location to be in.
Yeah.
Like some place that's truly a shelter from the outside world, because as soon as you leave the bar, whether it's in this anime or in Yakuza, you're thrown back out into the concrete jungle, essentially, and it's, sort of oppressive gray buildings and, minimalistic, or I can't remember the other term for architecture that I like. Oh, brutalistic. It's brutalistic architecture. Yeah. But when you're in this bar, you're almost, teleported isekai style to someone's living room or a rich guy's study or something. Like
it's like
break.
It's like the save room in Resident Evil, or it's like house.
That's what. Yeah, the save room in Resident Evil was always like that. It'd be a hellhole outside, and then you go in, and it's like, some nice music and books and a smoking jacket.
Yeah, I do agree with you though. We already brought it up, but like, it would just be so much better if the backgrounds went a little harder, like just to really sell that, like, because his bar's called like Eden or something, right?
Eden Hall.
Like Eden Hall. It's like, just make it feel like a little bit more. Like, I just need the backgrounds to just do a little bit more.
Plus, does it seem like nobody pays for their drinks in this, or is it just me?
Yeah, no, I thought that too.
Everybody's just running the longest tab ever.
Yeah.
Pretty much. They walk in, get a drink. Some people will just be like, this drink sucks, and then they leave without paying for it.
I think it's kind of like that TV trope where people don't say goodbye on the telephone. It's just like there's not enough time in the runtime to like show you the transaction, so we're gonna skip that. You're just gonna have to believe it.
That's always what I assumed. Or there's money on the table and they just don't show it. Yeah. Like they do occasionally. They'll show a stack of a couple thousand yen next to a Manhattan or whatever. But a lot of people, they don't show that. So I'm assuming it's similar. It's just, we're not gonna show this or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll definitely keep watching it. I'm enjoying it, at least from the standpoint of it's also a show that you can almost passively watch also, outside of the times when they're making a drink and then you're like, ooh, mix the drink. The stuff in between, I'm like, all right, well, I can get a glass of water or something while this is happening.
100%. Yeah, I don't see myself dropping it either. It'll be the cool off show for me.
Yeah, I think that's where it'll kind of sit for myself as well. But I was glad to see that it was getting a show, because I honestly didn't think we would see anything from this property ever again. But yeah.
I've been wanting to watch the original for a long time, and just I do
not know if it's available to watch anywhere.
Yeah,
it's not streaming, but someone just put it out on Blu-ray, right?
Yeah, Shout Factory, I think.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah.
And they even have like a nice version of it that comes with like drink recipe cards for each bartender
Ooh.
and everything. And it's pretty cheap because, of course, nobody fucking bought it.
Yeah. Well, hey, if this show's gonna do anything, it'll convince me enough to buy the original. So, got that going for it.
Yeah, for sure. All right, cool. I think we can shift from here then to a different show here. So, how about the folks who are watching Slime talk about Slime? Because that's kind of a big deal, isn't it?
Yeah. Slime
People
is
Yeah.
like the
It
slime.
was very popular. It got very high rating, I guess, on the night that it was premiering. I don't usually pay attention to those Japanese rating things or something, but it was like the usual like shows that have been running forever and then like Slime. So I guess Slime's a big deal. I don't know.
I think it's like the manga sells well too.
Everything about it sells well. That's why they
Yeah.
keep making it.
Yeah, this makes sense.
Yeah. And I mean, it's kind of like ushered in this new wave of slime isekai and, like the Reincarnated as a dumb monster isekai, or I became a dumb monster some other way
Yeah.
kind of stories. Or just low level, whatever. Yeah, very popular.
Slime is very popular. Yeah, I did not watch the recap episode that apparently was released. That was like Diablo talking about like stuff. And then
Yeah, it was a recap.
it was probably needed because when they jump right back into the plot, and I am in the position where it's like I read the light novels covering this material a while ago, and I'm also playing that stupid gacha game on my iPad, and I've completely I'm like at this point in my brain, all of the events of the series kind of are merging together, and I can't remember when thing happened.
Mm-hmm.
Or if it's ahead or way back from where things are happening in the story. So they're kind of digging into it. And I'm like, where are we? What has happened? What's going on? I'm like, did this already happen? No? Okay. Because in my brain it has.
It could be worse. My Hero is getting like 4 recap episodes before the season starts.
It sure is.
That's too much recap.
But I mean, it's a popular show that new viewers are going to pick up, and they want them to, and they have 6 seasons to get through. Most of them 2 core, all but 1, I think. So
like 50 different
episodes.
Students to name and say their power.
Yep. Even more than that. That's just 2 classes.
Yeah.
We definitely know every single member of those 2 classes very well by now.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, there's a huge cast in that show.
Anyway, Slime's back. It's very pointy. I think it was this pointy before, but my brain was not red. I think it's because that spin-off series was much rounder.
I was just going to say that exactly. Slime Diaries is way rounder.
And the original artwork.
You mean like literally? Like
the characters?
Yeah.
That's what's his name? Ryoma Ebata, I think, is the character designer and animation director for the main Slime series, and that is his style. It's very pointy, very angular.
And the light novel is very, very pointy. So but it was jarring because it came back and I'm like, oh my god, why is it so pointy? And I'm like, oh wait, it's supposed to be pointy.
Yeah, I remember season 2 came not long after Slime Diaries, and I remember that being a little bit jarring when I went straight from one to the other, and oh right, these guys are super pointy. Forgot about that.
Yeah, we're still kind of there's only 3 episodes out. We're still deep into setup / fallout from the previous season of the show. Yeah. So there's a lot of politicking happening.
Which is probably why they had that recap episode, because it's all the results of that and so much politicking to cover.
So much politics. Holy crap.
I think season 2, part 2 took place almost entirely at a table.
Yep.
Jeez.
I don't even know how they're going to handle some of the stuff coming up. There are chapters of the book that are just party planning and weird like thing inside a thing inside a thing that doesn't seem to have any point to it happening at all. It's just like, oh my god, I don't know how they're gonna adapt it. It's gonna feel like Exposition City when they get there.
I'm trying to remember where I am in the manga. I think I'm probably right about where we are now, because I know I read like just past where the anime had finished at the time. So I think I'm probably right about where the anime is adapting.
Lot. God, there's gonna be seasons upon seasons upon seasons.
Yeah, it's very successful. Why would it ever end?
No, well, it's gonna have to end at some point because I think the light novels were finally in like the final arc.
Yeah, oh, they can make a final arc last a long time.
Well, it's funny
Tell
because
you what.
I flip
Yes, if
over-
we've
I'm-
learned anything.
Yeah, and I'm very far behind reading and reviewing the books, but it's like I flipped open volume I think 18 just to see the author's note. He's like, yeah, I was gonna plan on finishing this in 3 volumes, and I don't think that's gonna happen because I keep expanding on it. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah.
Tale as old as time.
Mm-hmm.
I was gonna finish this in 3 years, but then the money kept coming in.
It's funny how that works.
Yeah, and I like that.
Yeah.
Now these like rewrites of web novels are always like, and then this ballooned into 7 more books.
Yeah, exactly. Because they don't expect success. They're just some dude on the internet who's writing their fanfic or whatever. And then all of a sudden they get a deal, and then adaptations, and it blows up. And they're like, sweet, I can just keep milking this forever. I'm definitely never getting this shot again.
I'm never going back to that life before this.
Yeah, exactly. It was awesome.
Yeah,
And then you inevitably
can't go
hear
back
about
all-star. Can't go back. Gotta be an all-star.
them. And then you inevitably hear about them getting busted for tax evasion because they have no idea.
Yeah, well, I guess that is at least 2 web novelists, huh?
I guess the whole like, you're like, how can you not remember to pay your fucking taxes? It's like, well, in Japan they usually file your taxes for you, the government, because they're
really?
coordinated. So when you're working for a corporation, all that shit is done for you. But it turns out when you're self-contractor working for these things and then suddenly bringing in oodles and oodles of money, normal people do not know how to deal with that.
I guess that does explain it. Although Apothecary, that was the mangaka, right? Not the web novelist. So
Yeah.
I guess Log
No.
Ryzen is the only web novelist that I can think of.
Yeah, but still, that was a large sum of money. That was a lot of money. Like, I was like, what the fuck? Holy crap, you're doing all right for yourself, okay.
Especially since the Log Horizon guy initially wrote a series about economics.
Yeah, he
Literally.
was probably like...
He couldn't
pulling a
database his way out of that one.
No, oh god, I love that. Anyway, yeah, I think like the mangaka I could bet that was a situation where I was like, oh shit, I thought this was all being taken out already. Yeah, Log Horizon guy, I think that was intentional. But
I'll have to go back to Mao Yu and see if there's an arc about tax evasion.
mm-hmm.
Turns out there's a hidden sort of agreement between all web novelists that taxation is theft.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, they have like a union.
God.
Okay.
What?
Slime
Is that
will go forever until the dude gets busted for tax evasion is the moral of the story.
That's what that's where we ended up.
Nice.
Yeah, I hope he's got like a tax guy.
It's been around for a long time, so hopefully he's got it figured out by now.
Yeah.
They haven't caught him yet. He's free to go.
Well, it took him a while for all these other people too, so.
I guess so, yeah.
I believe we can shift from the tax evasion anime to how about I'm just gonna go with Kestrel. It's good to be back. Good to be back out on the campsite.
Very comfy.
Very comfy, very cozy. It feels like I've never left.
I mean, DJ's gonna have to come on for at least an episode to talk about Yuru Camp, right? Or that's gonna be how we get him in here.
Who's this?
Who?
Ooh. Oh, right, the guy who's making all the money at his porn game.
The guy maybe also tax evading.
Are we busting DJ
You
for
can't
tax evasion
bust
on the air?
DJ.
Quick throw.
Come on.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
No, he's got a paper trail. He's got a paper trail because he's getting all that payment through the internet through like
That's fair.
things. So
Patreons and whatnot.
Yeah, they create a paper trail, so I'm sure he is.
That's fair.
Yeah. We're gonna go with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Castro, it's good to have Yuru Camp back, and it really feels like the show is just picking up exactly where it left off and just giving you the good shit immediately. You got Chikawa in a tent and a jacket and everything in like 30 minutes.
Yeah.
They knew exactly what the audience wanted, and they're delivering it 100%. What are you thinking of it so far? Obviously, you have it up at B+ tier. My main observation is I wasn't expecting Rin to be as talkative as she's been.
Yeah. Definitely
Like
coming out
really
of her shell.
social butterfly status over here.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I guess that's, a testament to the development and her interactions with the other characters for the first 2 seasons. Get to see her growing out into finding her social legs a bit.
Yeah, opening up, forming a small motor scooter gang.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been nice. Yeah, what are you thinking?
Yeah, it's definitely more of what I look for in the show. It is definitely one of my favorite, just like straight up Iyashike cute girl shows. Definitely captures that vibe without getting too much into just like the cutesy moe tropes or trying to be like too comedic when it's not. It's just very relaxing. It is a new studio. So it looks a little bit different.
Yeah, I thought it did. I was like,
yeah.
The characters look slightly different, like Nadeshko especially.
Yeah.
I couldn't quite put my finger on it, but like she looks different. I don't know, maybe she's like a thinner, like not as big of hair, maybe. Like there was something about it.
Yeah, definitely the character designs are a little bit different. Like not as extreme as what we were talking about with Slime, because it definitely wants to feel consistent. But it is definitely, you can tell that there are different people working on it. Also the backgrounds, they've always like used real elements in the background, but even more so now, this new studio.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's an interesting shift further in that direction. I don't find it too jarring. Like I notice that things are a little bit different, but I feel like the tone of it is still what I come to it for and expect. So I think it's still kind of delivering what I'm looking for.
Yeah, I definitely agree, and I'm glad that I wasn't wrong in thinking it looked different, because I thought maybe it's me, maybe it's me, but I also noticed too the heavy use of like the real background. Some of the time I felt like it was just they took a picture and then like watercolored over it sometimes.
Almost certainly, yeah.
Yeah. Where it just looked exactly like, this looks like you took a picture along the roadside and then just kind of turned it into anime. And I don't know if I mean that in like entirely complimentary or not, but
the Inio Asano strat.
Yeah.
Oh, I saw screenshots and that did not look good. Does it look better in motion?
I don't know. I haven't seen much from the movies stuff besides the trailer for Daemons.
Oh yeah. That I mean, do they do the same thing in the anime as he does in the manga in that regard?
I have no idea.
Okay, yeah.
Probably not.
But yeah, this, obviously like it's essentially rotoscoping, right? But it's not animation, so it's not as noticeable, because the thing that makes rotoscoping so noticeable is that the motion is very distinctive in real life, and you don't normally get that from just animating with no like reference. With a background, it's a still image, so it's less noticeable. But yeah, you can definitely tell like this was not just painted freehand. It was either a photograph that was processed or traced over or whatever. But yeah, I would agree that it would be more fitting if it was, more of just a hand painted, completely anime style type of background. Because otherwise, yeah, it's a little bit like, I don't know, Roger Rabbity.
Roger
It's
Rabbity,
not
but
really trying to be.
yeah, Roger Rabbity. At some points, I definitely felt like I was watching an ad for a tourism board.
Yeah, isn't that the whole show?
But not in a charming way, as in like this is a commercial for a tourism board while I'm watching like a sporting event that happens to take place in the same area. So before, yeah, it had the same kind of feel, but because it wasn't as like blatantly clear as you were talking about that this is like a photo that was painted over something, it felt this is going to be a criticism. It didn't feel like it was lovingly made for the area. It felt more like we need to get people to go here, so we're doing this like academically.
Yeah,
in a way.
It definitely feels like less.
It didn't feel
craftsmanship
sincere
behind it, right? Yeah.
Yeah. But it's a pretty relatively minor nitpick because it doesn't happen super often. And it's just when they're driving or walking through an area and you see signs and stuff, so it's not that big of a deal. The real thing that throws me for a loop in this show in particular, and I can't remember if earlier seasons did this. I want to say no, but the transitions from when they're on the scooters, they are 3D, and then when they get off, they are 2D.
Yep.
There's some rough transitions in this season in particular where like Rin will be on the scooter and they'll park and she'll get off 3D, and then the next scene she's just 2D.
Yeah.
And it's weird.
Which is, something that we're used to in anime, but it's still always jarring when it happens. And yeah, I think the previous seasons, like I never thought it was the most visually stunning show. But yeah, I agree that I have noticed that more in these few episodes than I remember prior.
Yeah, and it may be because we've just been hit with a plethora of scooter riding.
Right, very true.
Yeah, rather than it just being Rin on her moped going to the site and everyone else is riding trains or walking, we've had whole sections of episodes just being scooter montages.
Mm-hmm.
So that, yeah, it could just be a statement more on the sheer amount that we've been subjected to. But
I'm sure it has something to do with the new studio as well, right? Because we notice all these other aesthetic changes, so I'm sure it's not a coincidence.
Yeah, it might be that like workflow decisions and where they put their priorities for not only the things within this show, but this show period and whatever the rest of their schedule is.
Yeah, and they could just be, more inclined to use CG than the previous studio was.
Mm-hmm. But it's nice to see the gang all back together, and keeping their focus still mainly on there's the camping, yeah, but then there's all of the food we make, which is what I enjoy. I think more so than the camping itself is the cooking, and then the experience of like the fellowship you get while cooking, whether they succeed or fail. Like the sausages were a failure and success. But yeah, it's good. I'm definitely thoroughly enjoying it. It's my favorite. I think it's my favorite show of the season thus far, which I don't think that was really ever going to be up for debate.
Right. No contest.
Yeah, I don't think it was really going to be much of a competition, but still, it's nice that it's delivering on that yet, and it's not just the best by default.
Right.
Like it's still quite good.
Yeah, other than some particularly like poignant moments with Rin just like alone, I think the food has always been the highlight for me. And last night I made curry and I almost tried to make it damn curry, but yeah, it was very inspiring. It makes me want to go to all these places and get like their special little gimmick food too.
It makes me wish we kind of had it here.
Yeah.
In a way, like there is kind of like regional foods and things, but because the United States is so big, it isn't just I'm gonna take a short train and I'm gonna be in an area that has its own spin on food or drinks or whatever. It's more like I'm in Pennsylvania, I could go to South Carolina and have barbecue, but that's not something I could easily do in the same way that they do it on like a day trip or
You all need to come to New England, man. You can totally find that kind of stuff around here. Rhode Island is a whole other country when it comes to food.
I guess it helps that New England has so many just tiny states that it's a little bit easier to get around.
New England has bizarre. They're like, there's weird things going on in my state that I did not realize were so weird until like I went other places, and I'm all like, "What are you talking about?
That's
steak
not
tips,
normal.
Steak tips is not normal. You mean you don't have this weird roast beef thing going on?
What? Who doesn't have steak tips?
I guess some places don't have steak tips. Like, I guess they were a very New England thing. Like, I used to listen to podcasts with guys in California would be like, man, steak tips. And they're like, what, you don't have steak tips out there? So, I don't know. The way we make them is different, I guess. Like,
Yeah,
there's a
I guess
whole
that's
weird
true.
subculture of people that are, like, freaking out for, like, Boston area style, like, Chinese food. Like, Chinese American food. And like I don't like local hyper localized cuisine does exist in the United States, but it tends to be like weird lowbrow stuff.
I guess
like
this
the
is
worst sandwich you could possibly eat, but like worst it isn't. This sandwich would probably kill you, but everybody has their own like. This is a very unique sandwich, which is usually just a bunch of shit thrown on a sandwich that'll probably kill you.
Like Japan certainly has its regional cuisines. Where certain cities specialize in things and you have to go to certain regions to get a real version of it. But this, I feel like it's more just like a novelty as like a tourism thing at these places. It's not like ingrained in the history. It's more like, hey, we made this curry that's like modeled after the dams around here, and every little shop has its own dam represented in the food. So it's more just like a tourism gimmick.
Kitschy kind of.
Kitschy, yeah.
Yeah. We kind of have that, like, this is gonna get me flayed alive, but like Philly and cheesesteaks are like that. Where it's just like Philly, you go to Philly to get a cheesesteak, a real cheesesteak, but then every shop on every block has its own sort of recipe, and it's a legion of fans who will tell you it's the best versus X or Y, Jim's versus Joe's versus Gino's versus Pat's, etc., etc.
Yeah.
So that does kind of exist, but I agree with Kestrel on that. It's less, like historical foods and cultural impact, and more just like, kitschy little, damn curry, or one that does happen as well, and I've seen it in some videos, and Kestrel, you may be able to testify to this, having been in Japan and everything, but like the cookies at train stations.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say, it's like the cookies that you get everywhere.
Yeah, the cookies,
something you eat on the spot.
Yep, every train station has their own train station cookie and stuff, like that kind of thing. We don't really have a lot around here, unless I'm just super ignorant, or as Kate said, it's the worst sandwich you've ever had.
We brought home so many boxes and tins of cookies and chocolates from different places because we didn't realize that was a thing that like everywhere had. So we were like, oh, well, we got to get this here. And then we just kept doing that. So I'm like still making my way through my Ghibli Museum cookies and my Tokyo Disneyland Beauty and the Beast cookies or chocolates.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, that would be definitely something I'd fall for as well. Though mine would be more along the lines of how all those train stations have like their own boxed lunches and meals. It's like, well, I got to try the meal on this train, and I got to get the meal at this train.
I 100% bought like the Shinkansen bento that came in a Shinkansen shaped box.
Oh, did you?
I was
I've
looking for
seen
something
that.
like that. What station was that?
I do not remember. I think it was the one in Shinjuku. I think it was the Shinjuku.
I saw that on the
JR.
YouTube channel. I was like, that's cute.
Yep.
See, I was like, hell yeah, I'm gonna get my bento for my Shinkansen, but all they had was like just like normal convenience stores in the station. I was like, all right, I'll just get a normal ass bento then.
Oh, yeah. I guess I lucked out. But yeah, no, that was sick.
I'm all
Yeah,
about
maybe
good
I'll just have
foods.
to do more research on that kind of stuff. We do sort of have it around here because there's also like the Amish community in Pennsylvania Dutch cooking stuff,
Mm.
which kind of has a similar thing, though once again, it's not really kitschy or touristy. It's just the Amish live around here, and this is a PA Dutch area, so the way they cook a lot of stuff is just not the way you'd see it elsewhere. Like a major one
Yeah.
is like chicken pot pie is a
Mhm.
huge point of contention, where it's Dutch style. It's more like thick, almost pasta-like dumpling noodles in a broth, so it's kind of like a stew, and that freaks people out. Like they expect chicken pot pie like Swanson form.
How can you call that chicken pot pie? It doesn't
just-
sound like it has any of those things.
That's
Any of
just
those
what
No
it's
elements.
called.
pie in the chicken pot pie.
It's Dutch style chicken pot pie. That's just what it's always been called since I was little, and most other places I've lived in Pennsylvania that have had an Amish community, that's just what it's called.
Wow.
I think it's because it is made in a pot. And that's where
the
they-
part it has.
But
Yeah.
the pie part of this equation.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that seems
it's
like the
basically-
operative word here.
It's like chicken noodle soup, basically.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, I really got nothing for you guys here.
That's
Other than
definitely- you're describing chicken and dumplings, and that's not.
not the same. Not the same. It's
You
what
have
the-
become the de facto representative of the Amish community here, Kane. You got to explain this.
I am at work as well because they did a we're getting super off topic, but quickly they did a survey of which chicken pot pie was the best, and it was me and one other person who voted for the Dutch style one, and there was like 70 votes for the others, and they knew that I voted for it, so I was just getting roasted all day about it. But yeah, it's stuff like that. So maybe there is that around here. I saw Kate, you put a thing about strangest local delicacies, so maybe there's something in there, but it does add to the warmth of the series as well, in that they go to these places and try these foods, and even though it's just like a sausage, they'll be like, oh well, this is the sausage that comes from this particular area, and that, or this tea. I think that was the big one for this last trip or whatever, is the tea or something.
Yeah.
Is very big on their regionalized food situations.
Mhm.
In a in a very touristy way. Whereas in America, people just decide to get in fistfights over like weird ass shit that only like locals would ever eat.
Yeah, because I mean, Japan is so like souvenir oriented, right? So this is just
Yeah.
the concept of a souvenir extending into the food that you order at a restaurant.
True.
Well, I think now that we've gushed about not only the show but the idea of regional foods.
Yeah, we had a whole 10-minute tangent about food, and we weren't even talking about Dungeon Meshi.
No, we weren't. Though I suppose it's as good of any as a reason to start talking about Dungeon Meshi, at least for those of us who are caught up in watching it. Not that I particularly care.
Segue.
Segway's a segue. Yeah, I'm not caught up, but I still good to be.
You all need to get caught up after this episode. We're done recording. Because it was a big important episode today, and I can't talk about it because none of you are caught up.
Yeah, I feel like this half of the season's definitely like way more plot focused now.
Yeah. Kind of a
So-
dramatic shift.
Yeah, a little bit.
Like no plot for 10 episodes, and then all of a sudden everything's
then-
plot.
And then body gore, let's go.
Yeah, lots of stuff, and then at least as far as where I'm at in the show, I'm glad that like Marcel is doing a lot of stuff and not just hanging around and complaining about food.
Yeah.
Like she's had a heavy hand in a lot of the stuff that's going on, for better or for worse, like because of magic and her usage of it, her ability to teach others and everything. I was like, oh, here we go. Now we're starting to get some actual activity from her character rather than just background person who makes gross faces at the food that they eat.
Yeah, she basically became the protagonist when like the antagonist showed up and also knew ancient magic.
Yeah, it did kind of thrust her in the spotlight immediately. Because what else is anybody gonna do?
Yeah, what's Chilchuck gonna do?
Dude, Chilchuck's now certifiably the most useless person in that party.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, it's always been kind of weird, like his role in the party. Like, are you really pulling your weight here, kid?
Yeah, it's been like, I don't know, he does the sneaking,
Yeah.
but that they haven't needed that for quite some time.
Kestrel calling him kid.
I know.
Don't call me a kid.
Yeah.
That's even funnier later when you find out like his backstory.
He's got a
Yeah,
full
what is it?
family or some shit. 3
I mean,
kids and a wife.
I'm not talking.
What is he, like, late 30s? What did he say?
I thought he was
said he's
28.
29. He's
Oh,
29.
29. Kid, he's younger than me.
Not when the manga started.
That's true.
I just turned 30, so I get to call everyone in their 20s a kid. It's
Yeah, exactly. There you go.
certifiable.
He is younger than everyone on this podcast.
It's
Well,
the
just
it's one of
elves,
the
you
the
know.
only bright spots is that and then you can start calling everyone whippersnappers.
Hey, you sonny boy.
Pretty much. But yeah, the thing is I like Chilchuck, but it's just hard to kind of justify him being in the story, at least up to this point. Now maybe from this new episode that's very important that changes, but it really has felt like he's been a support character, but less in terms of helping the group in life or death combat scenarios, and more he carries the shit.
I feel like he's also just like the like an emotional quandary for the group, being like, oh, like, do we actually care about each other? Like, does this group even matter? Kind of thing. So I feel like he's kind of the centerpiece for like all of them being like, why are we even all together? And he's like the main, like, yeah, why are we all together?
Chilchuck is the straight man in the party. He's
That's
he's
fair,
over
yeah.
there being the voice of reason and logic and stuff. And he can read a map, so which I feel like none of the other people in the party can. He's become more important in the more recentest episodes. As the
Yeah, I mean, the last episode that I watched, he did something, and they were like, "Good job, Chilchuck. We couldn't have done it without you." I was like, I feel like you're just kind of laying it on thick to make it seem like he matters, but maybe the most recent one changes that.
Way to go, Chilchuck. You're the best.
does. I mean, yeah. They're not. Yeah. Check for traps, Chilchuck. That's your job. Check for traps.
He needs
The
to do.
rogue in the party.
I think what he needs to do is get a class change.
He's gonna. He will. Not really spoiler. He uses a bow. Just he lost the bow and he has not found the bow back yet from where their stuff was, where they got TPK'd before.
Interesting.
Did they show that in the? They spent at this point so little time in that battle before they all get.
Yeah, I don't know if he was even fighting in that battle. Probably not, but
I can't remember, but that
few combat skills. It's just like it's just not much.
Yeah.
Yeah. You like I said, you all need to get caught up on this week's episode because it is awesome and very important. But yeah.
The last episode I watched was the Dryads and the Cockatrice and everything, and I thought that one was pretty good.
That is probably the funniest episode of the series to this point.
They're all just snotting and crying and sneezing. It's gross.
Yeah, just like snot flying at the snottiest snot ever. Oh my god, that the pollen effects tanked the bitrate on my stream so bad.
Oh, did they?
Into a fucking like it just turned into like squares I was like, I can't see shit. I'm just like these characters right now because the bitrate cannot keep up with this compression and everything is just going to shit because of the pollen in this scene.
You
Thanks,
just started
Internet.
watching a PowerPoint.
It wasn't like the frame rate dropped. It was just like looking at like a badly coded JPEG.
Yeah.
It was terrible. I was like, hey, this is why, physical media can't go away because I can't see shit on these streaming services when things get really, really detailed and they just decide to, crush it.
Oh man, I know I recommended this in a previous episode, but I just finally watched the Planet Earth 3 4K this past weekend. Man, it's a totally different show. Like, it was so fucking compressed on streaming. It was unwatchable for what the point of those shows are.
Yeah.
Yeah. Physical media, good thing. This is a Netflix show, so you'll probably never see it.
Oh, that kills me.
I really want it though.
I saw a tweet the other day that was like, what if there was a place where Netflix subscribers could go to watch Netflix movies? The quote tweet was like, yeah, it's called the motherfucking movie theater, dude.
I thought that was a business venture they were considering at one point. It was like a
What?
net. I'd read on a few. I don't know how reliable the sources were, but at one point Netflix was trying to just like buy one or two movie theaters out by where you live now to be like, this is where we're going to do Netflix screenings or something.
No, yeah, they own a few of the movie theaters out here for sure.
Oh, so they do that. They did do that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That doesn't surprise me.
Weirdly enough, they bought the Egyptian, which is like a very famous historical movie palace.
Yeah.
Oh, so we can watch the newest Adam Sandler movie in there.
But it's still like doing the stuff that the Egyptian has always done with like American Cinematheque. It's just the building happens to be owned by Netflix, but as far as I know, it doesn't like show Netflix stuff other than like, I don't know, Maestro, because that's like the kind of thing that you'd have in the Egyptian anyway.
Interesting.
So, very strange. But I think they bought another one around here. I can't remember what it was, but I've been to it. Yeah. But yeah, they try to do like short theatrical runs for any of their movies, certainly that they want to be nominated for Oscars. But I think some of them are kind of limited to just the ones out here because, yeah, A, they want people to just watch them on streaming, and B, you only need to show it in Los Angeles to get nominated for an Oscar.
Yeah. True.
All right, well, it sounds like we just need to all focus our efforts on getting caught up on Dungeon Meshi here, since some serious shit is about to go down.
Yeah, I'm sure the mid-season check-in will be a little bit more relevant for it.
Okay, then let's shift over. I want to hear about this kaiju show.
Oh yeah, you'd like this show.
It has a big-ass banner on the Crunchyroll thing that has an active countdown for when episodes are airing, which I can't remember ever seeing before.
Yeah, so they used to do that, like, not the big banner, but every episode used to have a countdown until it dropped. But they stopped doing that, like, I don't know, 10 years ago. And up until this show, you could never see when anything was coming out until it actually went live. And yeah, now they brought it back for this show specifically, which I'm sure they'll expand it to everything else once they get all the kinks worked out. But yeah, they're definitely pushing the show.
I feel like they know that this show has and this is not a dig at the show, but it's like they know that there's like a lowest common denominator, like action audience that this show is made for, and they're like, yeah, they're pushing on the front of Crunchyroll. It's the first ever anime that's also airing on X, aka Twitter.
That's right. I always forget about that. That's so stupid.
So weird to me. I would never in my fucking life watch a show on Twitter.
If you thought your dedicated streaming services had bad quality degradation.
Yeah, no, 100%. And yeah, also like they're going gung ho with like they know that a Western audience will be into this because the opening and ending songs are by like American music artists. It's the wildest shit ever.
It's so weird. Like they're just regular ass songs by Youngblood and One Republic.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, they
It's
probably
wild.
watched Arcane and were like, "Yeah, we need an opening with Imagine
True.
Dragons on it."
True. Yeah.
So weird. And it like I guess it works. It doesn't really to me it doesn't fit the show like aesthetically or anything. I feel like a typical like J-Rock song, get
Right.
I don't know, get Lee
Like
Arkansas in there. Get like an OG like crazy shit on there, but I
like we're
get why
in
they're doing it.
Japan dealing with the very Japanese concept of kaiju, and you
Yeah.
have these American ass music artists doing the opening and ending.
Yeah. They're definitely pandering to a crowd and it'll probably work. Just
Mhm.
definitely a little weird.
Yeah, Crunchyroll is going to be real disappointed if the show does not succeed, and probably
Yeah.
everyone on the production committee, because
Yeah.
I'm sure those artists were not cheap either.
No. No. Yeah, they're like, please don't go into the red.
Yeah.
But no, this show's fun. I've been following the manga since it started up like 2, 3 years ago, and it's very, prototypical like action series. It's got like all those story beats. I might be a minority in this, but like for me, it's kind of disappointing that they set up a concept for the show that I thought was really unique and cool, and then they're like, no, it's just gonna be like a normal like fighting kaiju action show.
Mhm.
I thought originally it was gonna be this guy's like on the cleanup crew, and it's just gonna be all about like learning about kaiju anatomy and like the toiling away job of a guy that's on cleanup duty for kaiju battles. That's like a amazing concept that really hasn't been fully explored, and I think could really use something like that. But no, after the first episode, it very clearly goes into like, oh no, he gets powered up and he's going into battle. So,
Yeah.
but it's good at what it does, though. Like, it'll be a fun action series. And I think I can't remember if it's the animation director or the character designer, but I really like what they're doing with like the aesthetics of the show.
Mhm. Yeah, like if I had started the manga when it began, I'd probably have the same reaction of like, oh, this is really like subverting the tropes and giving us kind of, something outside of your normal Shonen Jump fare. But going into this anime with it being hyped up as like the big shonen show of the season, I'm like, no fucking way this is Kaiju Janitor for 26 episodes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was surprised that it discarded that pretty quickly.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, it's fun. Obviously, great production values. I don't know much about the plot, but it's definitely following your shonen beats. It's a pretty common trope of I don't know, is it a spoiler to say like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
Certain type of monster, main character suddenly becomes a certain type of monster.
Yeah, I mean it's literally like Bleach and every other, it's
Everything, yeah. So yeah, it doesn't seem like it's crazy innovative, but it's another example of we're putting a lot of money into this because it executes on its tropes well, and we are in an age where we don't need to worry about like filler and stuff, so it should be a fun ride.
Yeah. No,
it's
yeah,
just about the battle porn.
Yeah, it's the character designer that I was like, this guy is like really giving it a unique look because he's worked on like so many stuff. Tetsuya Nishio.
Oh yeah,
He's on, everyone's favorite shit. He's on Evangelion, FLCO, like so much shit. Jinro, like this guy's got some credits behind him, and the show definitely has like a decently unique look to it. But yeah, it's your standard action fare, but it's fun. I think it's worth picking up if you don't really have like a go-to action series for this season, which I feel like on the most part, besides like your isekai shows, there isn't a lot in that regard.
Yeah, I don't think this is a super action heavy season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially if you're like looking for new shows. This is definitely like the banner new hit for the season.
then maybe I'll have to give it a shot. Because my other show that I'm watching, Ninja Kamui, I don't know if that's done or not. It has like 11 or maybe 12 episodes. It's just I'm not sure if it's gonna keep going past that or not. Like, there's clearly stuff it has to accomplish yet. I'm just unaware of what its production schedule is, like if it's gonna be 2 cours or what exactly. So if it is done after that, then there is a distinct lack of action in my schedule this season.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like it should wrap up in a week and a half.
Okay, so yeah, then maybe they'll open up a window for kaiju to squeak in.
Yeah, I think it's worth a shot.
Cool.
Yep.
All right. Well, how about we talk about the other show that everybody's watching here, and let's talk a little bit about economics and how business works, and the idea of trading on currency.
Quick
How to
question.
evade your taxes.
Yeah, there you go. Am I the only one who hasn't seen the original?
I have not. This is my first experience.
Okay.
So I knew it existed,
Yeah.
and there was also that VR thing they did.
Oh.
Yeah.
Whoa.
As we talked about, that knew its audience.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I never watched the show. I never really knew what it was about, other than what you can tell just by looking at it on its face and reading like a blurb. It's about a merchant and this wolf goddess person. Other than that, I really had no idea what was going to happen.
Now, Kate, you and I have both watched all of the previous anime and read all of the novels. Is that true?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Oh,
yes.
wow.
I don't know.
Well,
They keep putting out more spring logs. So,
They do.
but yeah.
They keep... I don't know if
main
I've read the most
series-
recent. Yeah.
Yeah. The main series, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Damn. Well, I'm glad we have some resident experts as well as newbies.
Yeah. It's a good divide.
Yeah, I'm glad that we started to see some, I guess, for lack of better terms, just like action from Hollow in episode 3 and 4, because those first two I was like, is this lady just gonna ride around in this cart and be cheeky the whole time? And then it's Lawrence, or I'm just gonna call him Larry. Larry's just gonna have to put up with this fucking freeloader the whole time. So it is nice to see their sort of at least business relationship growing. Like, Hollow's doing stuff to help him trade and eating a shitload of apples. Which, by the way, if she thinks those are great, she should see what apples are like in 2024, because those are probably like Red Delicious or whatever, and those apples are disgusting.
Actually, Red Deliciouses used to be better, and then they
believe
got
I
bred
agree.
into stupidity, and they've gotten worse.
Damn.
So yeah, the original Red Deliciouses were actually pretty good tasting, apparently.
Yeah, because we got all sorts of crazy fucking apples now, so you can go nuts about that fruit over here. But yeah, it was nice to see her do the thing where she's helping him figure out what this like currency exchange scheme is all about, and getting money for his pelts and everything. Like, I don't know, just kind of showing that there's a little bit of chemistry between them outside of him just looking beleaguered all the time and her eating and sleeping.
Mm.
So yeah, I'm liking where the series is going now that we've kind of gotten into what sort of feels like the meat and potatoes of it. Obviously, 4 episodes in and no real idea of what the rest of the show is like. It kind of feels like this is the start of what the show actually is going to be. But yeah.
By the way, Lawrence is 25, in case you were wondering.
Woof, that's a rough 25.
Yeah.
There's a lot of country there's a lot of city mileage on that 25.
Man's been through it. It's funny because I was like, his voice actor doesn't feel like he fits for how old he looks, but now I guess it kind of works. And also, was he the original voice actor too?
Yeah, they
And
kept
so
all the voices in both Japanese and English.
Yeah, I figured as much. So that makes sense why they'd keep him. But like, yeah, just like his like youthful voice and him looking at least 55, like kind of hard to get used to.
Speaking of the tax evasion dude, so his first series, Mao Yu, was also a very economics focused series, and they definitely leaned into the similarities because in Japanese, the two leads of that have the same voice actors as the two leads of Spice and Wolf.
Oh, maybe they're in on it.
Brand, how do you feel about their relationship thus far between Hollow and Larry?
I kind of felt similar where I was hoping she wasn't just gonna be just like making like snappy little quips at him the whole time, but it's nice when you can see she is a goddess. She has like a silver tongue that's gonna like come out. And no, I think it's cute. I feel like this is the other end of the spectrum of like of like Bartender, where it's like I'm not here to like sit down and have a drink. I'm here to sit down and talk business. And I feel like there's a lane of people that are like, yeah, this is what I'm about. And this is like a cool down show for another type of person. But I'm digging it so far. I think it looks really nice too. And of course the Kevin Penkin score is, I feel like, perfect for this kind of series. I feel like it's very fitting.
Yeah, definitely a similar style to the first series. He's definitely balancing that with his own style. Yeah, it works out.
Yeah.
I like how she also shows that she can feel remorse for some of her comments and things. Because at first she's like very aloof and just like, I'm a goddess. You know, that typical way that characters that are gods or portraying gods treat humans and things is sort of
Gilgamesh
expendable.
syndrome.
Yeah, which she does, but then when she sees that it hurts Larry's feelings, she then feels bad and apologizes when she's talking about like how wolves eat people's heads to gain their knowledge and things, and you could tell she's used to either, I don't know, talking to other gods about it or just having that typical arrogance that you get from characters who have, who are in that archetype. But then when he expresses anger, she doesn't just blow him off as like, you humans are too sensitive. Or whatever, or that's what happens when you're on the weak side of the food chain or something. Like, she feels bad and apologizes and everything, which was refreshing because I'm used to watching shows that doesn't really happen, and the god just kind of either keeps going or just treats the person as being too sensitive or what have you. So it was nice that she recognized that it bothered him and then stopped and then also apologized. I was like, oh, well, that's kind of nice. She didn't have to do that, but it showed a little more depth than I was expecting in that moment. Because yeah, up until then, she was just snapping quips and shit all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I assume this remake is the case of they're gonna follow the original a little bit closer. Is that kind of the intent here?
The first one already kind of did. Like, I feel like this is not really changing anything. It's just the original only covered the first few volumes, and they hadn't made any of it for like, I don't know, almost 15 years. So they were like, yeah, I'll do a reboot at this point.
They adapted 1, 2, 4, and 5, I think. They skipped volume 3. And so they did change a few things. And then and then the first episode had a different, instead of having his friend in that village be a dude, it was a chick. Which actually, she was in that first episode as one of the random villagers, which was kind of funny. As they included that anime only character from the first series as like one of
the first episode, from what I know, also had that scene at the very beginning that is like, I assume, alludes to way down the line.
Yeah, I was surprised they went all in with that.
Yeah, that was an interesting. But I guess I figured at this point most people know.
Yeah, like. Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to gauge, like, did it seem like a major spoiler to you guys? Like, obviously, we know what it is, but
I mean,
was
not
it clear
really,
what it was?
because
okay.
Because I figured
the
if
gist
she's
of
a
it.
goddess or whatever, then this is only natural. In a way, that's how I took it. I was like, oh, that's probably hollow or something, and this dude is probably dead or something because this is in the future or whatever. Like it's
I was like, they made a VR game about this. I know what's going on here.
yeah, I
I
didn't
know what
mind
this
it.
leads to.
Yeah, I know where this road leads. No, I didn't. Even if it
Yeah.
is like a spoiler, I didn't. It didn't really bother me. I guess because it's just I saw it as the natural progression of things when with a story like this, even for how little I knew about it. And I was like, yeah, this makes sense.
But yeah, from what I heard, that third novel or whatever that got skipped, it kind of they thought there was like an unnecessary plot pointer character that like later on became very important.
Uh-huh.
So
The
that's like-
usual like we skipped this thing because this isn't gonna be important. Who cares?
Yeah, that makes sense.
yeah, so I get what. So would you say, as a fan of the original, it's worth watching the new one?
Yes, because
Okay.
it's I know we were concerned about the animation. I'm not concerned about the animation anymore. And just like I didn't remember how ugly the original version was until someone put up a comparison of the English dub, a clip of the English dub from the first run and then this new adaptation, and I'm like, oh god, the characters designs the first time around were just so clunky. Look, I just like not. I don't know. It did not age well. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it already didn't look good at the time.
Yeah, it was not a looker.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't think that this one looks great either. I feel like it looks like a good 2008 show, whereas the original looks like a bad 2008 show. But it's not like blown me away visually in any way.
You take the W's where you can.
Yeah, exactly.
No.
But I mean, yeah, obviously just the fact that it will, hopefully, if it is successful enough, continue for longer than the first one did and cover more of the story and do it more faithfully and not skip anything, then yeah, it'll certainly, hopefully, be the more worthwhile production at the end of the road.
It definitely feels more like a 2008 show in that it's taken its sweet time too. Whereas, like, you know, I feel like a show like this normally wouldn't get made nowadays. But like, it has an audience, so like, I get why it's coming back.
Now, the one thing to know about this series is it's never really high octane.
No.
I mean, there are occasional like moments of, hey, this might be tense, but like tense is like, yeah, it's not. It's never gonna be like insane. It's a lot of talking and character work.
They'll get to some of the like action moments before too much longer. That's coming up pretty soon.
Yeah, there's a few moments of chaos, relative chaos, but
Yeah, like there will be more reasons for Holo to be a wolf god than just being a cute girl with little wolf ears.
Yeah, and being furry bait,
Yeah, exactly.
which kind of is the main draw for that right now. Because I don't even think you got to see her in wolf form when she did it. Right? They just kind of
Right.
showed
You can
a
see his
flash.
reaction.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and then
his
his reaction. Yeah.
Yeah. No, you'll get some Okami material in your Yuri bait or your furry bait.
That's cool, and I like that. It seems, at least at this point, that Larry is also a competent merchant. Like he,
oh, Larry.
I know I can't take you seriously when you call him Larry. It's not
I'm
even
calling
his
him
first name.
I'm calling him Larry.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
just how it's.
What's
how
his
it's
first
going.
name again? Because it's something
It's
weird.
Kraft.
Kraft.
Yeah, I'm not
with a
calling
K,
that because that's a
Kraft
stupid
Lawrence.
anime name. I'm not doing.
I mean,
that
that's a
either.
stupid anime name. No one calls him Kraft, but
Call
everyone
him
calls him Lawrence.
Cheese Larry, Cheesy Larry.
Cheesy Larry, cheesy, our boy Cheesy Larry.
Oh my god, I'm taking psychic damage over here from this.
We're ruining everything.
Yep. Brandon and I are just gonna spend the rest of these podcasts just ruining the show for you by calling all the characters Cheesy Larry and like Fox Girl and shit.
Yeah. Cheesy Larry and Sonic Fox.
And Sonic Fox.
Oh my god.
Jesus.
What about Ashy Larry? Remember Ashy Larry?
Larry. It's nice to see, getting back real quick, that he is competent at his job at least, and it also isn't she's going to pull him out of some type of like mediocre streak. Like, he's clearly an accomplished merchant in his own right, which is nice. It isn't she's a goddess, she's going to help him make money and teach him how to do real business because he's just a big old sucker or some shit.
Yeah.
Like, he has working business relationships with lots of people and a knowledge of the ins and outs of like how the economy works and the different silver coins and the value of pelts versus wheat versus other things. Like, he knows his shit, which is refreshing. It's I think I've seen it coined as like competency porn at some points. It's like watching really any recent movie with Matt Damon in it, but just someone who's really good at their job, and you spend the time just watching them be good at their job.
Yeah.
Matt Damon confirmed for live action Lawrence.
Live action Cheesy Larry.
I'm down. I agree. I feel like if this show was made in like today's standards, if it was like an isekai and it's like I worked on the trade room floor until I was isekai'd into New Kingdom, like, it totally would have been like he was in the red, he sucked at his job, but then like the goddess of money showed up and was like, no, we're gonna turn this shit around for you, boy. But no, it's nice seeing a main character that actually like knows what he's doing.
Yeah, he knows what he's
just
doing.
Been like the typical like, oh, you dumb fantasy world people don't have our modern Japanese economics. I'm going to be the expert and lord it all over you guys and become the most successful merchant in Fantasyland. And
I'm going to
have a harem of 1,000 wolf girls. Yeah, exactly. Wait, oh my god, how have I never thought about this? Holo is the Wolf of Wall Street.
Oh no! Now we've got our title for the episode.
Vice and Wolf of Wall Street.
Amazing.
She is picking up on the business ideals very quickly. Next, she'll just be pounding her chest in a scene and then pressuring Cheesy Larry to make very unwise investments and pressure old people into buying stocks. The show's gonna get very toxic very quickly.
Yeah, one of the. It's only a matter of time before they start pushing hollow coin on us.
They make their own cryptocurrency.
Yeah, Cheesy Larry would.
You guys don't deserve this show.
We've thoroughly ruined it already.
Spicy Wolf is officially firing you as viewers.
I'm gonna go to start playing it in Crunchyroll, and it's just gonna crash the app every time.
The one time an anime dropped you as a viewer.
Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah, I had a question for you guys since you knew the story and everything. One, so when she came out after this festival thing, and maybe this will be answered later on, so feel free to not do so. Does she have like a time limit or anything, or is it just now I'm chilling, like I'm just here?
She's just
because the whole thing was she lives in that last like stalk of wheat or whatever you would call it. But luckily, when they cut it, his wagon was nearby with wheat in it, so she could go in there instead of appearing in front of everybody or what have you. But I can't remember if she mentioned anything about, like, I'm here for X amount of time, or if it's just I'm here until I don't feel like it anymore.
Yeah, she's just there.
She's just there. She's okay. I mean, that's fine. I was just wondering because the whole way she was sort of summoned was by a ritual of sorts, like a cool festival, very pagan-y type thing. But then after that, it's just like she's here and she's hanging out. So
The impression I got was that like even the guy that was supposed to stay in the barn but didn't, like, it's the ritual is like putting on airs just because they do it and it's
Yeah.
part of their whole thing. I don't think there's like a strict like it doesn't really like work in a specific way. Or at least not
She
the
just
way
comes
they're
and goes as she
intending.
pleases.
Yeah.
I think it's like it's playing with that whole mythological angle of there was a bargain made in a contract, and she's bound to the rules of this contract that she made with this human, sort of. But the rules are kind of like wishy-washy, based in traditional folk stuff. So like she's like, no, this is just how the system that we set up works, but they don't believe or care anymore, so why should I, kind of
Right.
situation.
Yeah. Like, because, yeah, the fact that the pagans don't really believe in the ritual that they're doing means that she isn't really bound to it anymore.
Mm-hmm. I do kind of wish they
basically-
would have spent a little more time on it because I thought it was cool. Like that whole piece of the festivals and ritual and everything. I was like, oh, this is kind of neat. Pagan stuff. I'm into that. The little like wheat wolves that they were hanging up all over. I thought that was cool.
Mhm.
I wish they spent more time on it just because I wanted to hear more of Sugita's voice actor. Or the voice actor.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I have a whole lot else to say other than enjoying it. It looks better than I thought it was going to, but I also agree with Kestrel. It's not the greatest thing I've ever seen in my life, but it is competently made.
Yeah. Yeah, like, I think they could have made a show that looked like this when the original came out, but it was also very underproduced. So, I'll take it.
Bran, anything else from you?
No. This one is I hope it gets me more eventually. I feel like I've just been like busy lately, so it's hard to like focus on a show that like really like needs your attention in a ways. So
Yeah, this one you definitely can't passive watch or you're going to miss a whole Econ 101 lesson.
yeah, exactly. So I think once we get into the groove of it, I'll either saddle up or I'll fall off the wagon. We'll see.
Ooh.
Well, it's all
I'm
right.
here for Cheesy Larry's Wild Ride, though.
I was going to say, I don't think it's going to matter because the show's kicked us off.
It's true.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay, I think we've made Kate suffer long enough.
Oh,
This might be one of my favorite shows for the past couple of years, if only because every time we talk about like Cheesy Larry, it's just gonna make Kate physically recoil.
Why are you like this?
Thanks.
Okay. What show can we ruin next?
No.
Well, we've pretty much, I think, covered almost all the ones that I was watching. You were Camp Dungeon Mission. Yeah, except Ninja Kamui, which there's not much to say about that other than it's still incredibly violent. It's incredibly violent, and I wish they'd stop using CGI ninja suits and just do more of the standard action animation, because when they do that, it looks really cool and is high octane, and then when they put on the CGI ninja suits, it kind of looks like shit.
I saw a clip of the CGI suits the other day. Definitely some Uncanny Valley stuff.
There's some of that. There's also they look completely out of place in the universe because nothing else is really CGI'd as well. So it takes you out of the immersion of the show, rather than when they're fighting hand to hand as their characters. It just, I don't like CGI in that way. I mean, I've talked about it countless times. CGI for like cars and trucks and buses and shit is fine, but when you're trying to do human animation, especially fluid combat, high intensity things, unless you really spend your time making it and you have like godlike skills, it just never looks very good. Everything looks heavy. They all look like they're moving around with sandbags attached to them.
Yeah,
Like
I feel
yeah.
like
yeah.
the one exception for me is a show like Kengan Ashura, but that's like they're like honed in on everything in this. Is like it's this show's built on its CG, so it's like it wouldn't go anywhere if like they didn't at least pull that off.
Yeah, like you need to have committed to it. It's the situations where you're like, well, we got to get this scene done, so let's just do some CG models instead.
Yeah,
And you just throw that in the middle of an otherwise hand-drawn show. That's when it gets really jarring.
Yeah, and they definitely could have just hand drawn the suits too, because the suits are detailed and neat looking, but it isn't anything we haven't seen before in anime. Like, I don't see the reason outside of doing it because maybe they wanted to make it stylistic or they had to save time or money. It's hard to say, but it's still a good action ride. Like, there's people getting thrown out of elevators and cooked alive, all sorts of shit. Like, it's fun in that way. It just doesn't offer much anything else. Like, it's very generic otherwise.
Mm.
But let's see. For everything else, there's Euphonium. That's the band one, right?
Yeah.
Why don't you talk about the band one? If Bran, you're watching this, right?
Yeah.
I would love to see how you could ruin this.
Well,
No.
I
Too
don't.
wholesome. Stop it. Go away.
No, this one you can't really ruin. It is too wholesome and cute, and yeah, it's just like a warm show, and I'm glad it's back. I will say, it was a little hard, like a bit of a rough transition into it because I didn't watch the movie.
Yeah. This is like fucking KyoAni's like sprawling cinematic universe. Like there's so many movies and OVAs and specials that like fit into different parts of the timeline. Some of them are recaps, you don't need to worry about them. Some of them are
Yeah.
spin-offs, you can only kind of worry about them. Some of them are absolutely essential to watch before the season.
Yeah, like I wanted to watch, what is it, like Liz and the Bluebird or whatever when
Yeah.
it came out years ago, and I haven't gotten around to it, but I didn't think that was necessary. But then there was, I guess, another movie that is literally like the transition period between season 2 and 3. And then like season 3 starts, it's like, oh yeah, Kumiko's president. And I'm like, oh, wait, was that established? I don't remember.
And like there's the movie that is essential to watch, and then there was an OVA that came out shortly before this season that is also essential to watch and also not possible to watch anywhere in the US.
Great.
Like at least the movie was probably never streaming either, but at least it got a Blu-ray release. So like if you're into the show enough to buy it, at least it exists. Maybe it's streaming somewhere now, but like the recent one that's like the direct precursor to this season is just not available anywhere.
That's nuts. I mean, it's easy enough to watch and get the gist of it. It's like, all right, another year of school, they're gonna try to win at nationals. Like, I get the gist of it, but there's definitely like a character that like feels like I'm supposed to know, and I'm like, who are you? But aside from some minor confusion, I'm definitely looking forward to this season. It's always good having a KyoAni show on the block, and I think the dynamic of this season is interesting too, just because having the main characters in the more like administrative top dog role is like a cool new spin on it, like them having to deal with teaching the new kids as well as like it's our last year, our last chance to really do it. And I think it's a compelling way to go. I assume go out as a final season, but we'll see.
Yeah, it's always, something that these high school shows want to pull off if they can is to, follow a character from the beginning of high school to the end of high school, which, as we know from anime, is the entirety of a person's life. So you get to see them, coming in at the bottom of the ladder, everything's fresh and new, and, they're at the bottom of the food chain, the hierarchy. And don't really know anything, and have their senpai to guide them, and it's all about their growth. And then if you can get far enough in the story, then you get to see them on the exact opposite side of that spectrum and being that leader and that point of guidance and reflecting on the senpai who got them to that place that they can now lead the future generation. As if they're not just 2 years older and still just teenagers.
Yeah.
No, man, they got life all figured out.
Yeah, totally.
They've got their taxes all taken care of.
I guess that's why 25-year-olds are like as old as Lawrence, because your life basically ended at high school.
You start accelerate aging the second you hit like 18. It's all over.
One thing that was particularly bittersweet about this is that this season has been in production so long that the first episode was directed and had animation direction by 2 of the most prominent people who died in the arson 5 years ago.
Yeah, I figured that was the case. I didn't really look into which particular staff were a part of it, but I knew that some of them had been part of the toll. So
yeah, like that episode in particular, is directed by Yasuhiro Takimoto, who is kind of like the second biggest director at the studio after Tatsuya Ishihara. And, before Naoko Yamada kind of became a huge deal there. They were kind of like the big 3 who the big projects would kind of cycle between. And then the animation direction was Futoshi Nishiya, who did, like the character designs and animation direction for A Silent Voice and Listen to Bluebird, and also Hyoka, which Takimoto also directed that whole series. That was a rough one because I finally first watched that series right after the arson happened.
Hyoka?
And yeah. And that was like pretty much all of the main staff of that were among the casualties. So that was like about as rough as you could get, knowing that, none of the people who made that show what it was are still there.
Yeah. So. And that's kind of like the amazing part about this show even airing is just like the resilience of the fact that like they're able to do it and still like maintain like almost the same quality. Like there's definitely gonna be some differences, like however slight they might be, but like it's still amazing that they were able to bounce back as quickly as they did.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like they literally lost half their staff and then several other ones left the studio because, that's extremely traumatic to have half of your coworkers be murdered in front of you. Yeah. So it would be like totally understandable for them to just hang it up entirely. But not only did they bounce back in an amazingly short period of time, but they are still like the top dogs in terms of consistent quality and studio ethos and work-life balance that does not exist in this industry and is just getting worse and worse for every other studio, and they still just care so much about their workers as humans and are still able to just put out the absolute top quality in the industry. So yeah, incredible triumph of that studio as always.
Yep. But yeah, good show. I'm looking forward to more of it for sure.
Mm-hmm. All right, what else do we got going on here? We got. Let's see. There's Konosuba and Jellyfish. Those I think are the last 2. So.
And we should probably let Brand talk about his number 1 at some point, even though no one else is watching it.
Yeah, I'll do like a quick lightning round at the end. But I definitely just wanted to mention about Konosuba is that I'm really glad it's back because it's really putting into perspective for me like how much I didn't like the Megumi spinoff.
Yeah.
And like this one coming back like solidified for me. It's like, yeah, there was a difference in these shows. Like
for sure.
This like the 3rd season like immediately like felt so much more lively and funny again, and I was like, wow, yeah, this is what I was like expecting that Megumin show to be.
Yep.
It was not. But no, it's been really fun so far. Just back at it like they always are with their crazy quips and stuff. But yeah, there's not much else to say. It's a lot of the same old gang, and they're silly.
Yep. Is very absurd and very extra, and yeah, it's something.
Well, then I think that just leaves what, Jellyfish, if that's all you're going to say about Konosuba. This is another cute girls doing stuff show. At least that's what it looks like.
I mean, technically, I guess. It's kind of more about them. So they're trying to establish like a kind of net singer musician persona. And so it starts with like an ex-idol who fucking punched a girl in the face and got kicked out of being an idol. And so she still wants to like sing, and she wants to be, more genuine and authentic than you can be as an idol. So she turns to the internet for anonymity, and to, get her music out there. And she finds this other girl who is, has very low self-esteem, but is a really gifted artist and really passionate about drawing. And enlists her to be like the artist for her character, basically. And then they add a composer for the music, who's like a classically trained pianist. And then also a VTuber who can like, animate the character and like make music videos for them and stuff. So it's just kind of the four of them kind of learning what their limits and their potential are, and complementing each other in a way that they can each kind of pursue their dreams in a way that being alone they were holding themselves back from, because of each of their individual kind of neuroses and insecurities.
Yeah, definitely feels like it's following in the wave of the success of like Bocchi the Rock. There's definitely a lot of shows, like this isn't the only one this season even that's like in this lane. I think there's that one called like Girls Won't Cry or something.
Girls Band Cry. That's one of the ones. That and Blue Archive. I've heard good things about both, but neither of them are available anywhere. I don't know what's happening.
Yeah, I really want to watch the Girls Band Cry because like it's all CG, but like it has like that bouncy. It almost looks like Studio Orange level of just like it looks like really well done. But Jellyfish has been good. It's I know I compared it to like Bocchi, but it kind of reminded me of like Paripi Kome, but without the legendary war general as their manager.
Exactly.
It's like a similar just like come up in the music industry story.
Yeah, for sure.
But no, it's cute so far. I think it looks really good. And I like, it's always a toss up when shows try to have these like these more nuanced social media elements in it, but I feel like they're tackling it in like a really smart way.
Yeah, I'm reviewing the show, and I've found surprisingly a lot to say about it in terms of character study and social commentary. So I'm digging into a lot in the reviews. But in the latest one, I was like, this is the most 2024 show that's ever been imagined.
It really is.
Only a 2020s group of like Gen Alpha would be like, we're going to make art. We need a YouTuber or a VTuber, obviously.
Yeah. This is an anime born out of the pandemic for sure.
Exactly. And, speaking to that, it is an original, which is always cool to see when those are actually good. And yeah, I feel like it's one of those shows that had to be an original because by the time the manga got adapted, it would not be as relevant anymore. Like, it is so mid 2020s.
So true. But yeah, no, the show looks great so far. I feel like I've only watched I think the first 2 episodes, but like the music has been good, and like I guess that's the only other thing I'm like waiting to see like if it's really gonna be a standout part of it, or if it's like the characters are really more the general focus.
Yeah, actually, the music was kind of the thing that I was most excited about going into it, because obviously it's an original, it's a music-based story, and the composer is Masaru Yokoyama, and I think he's doing all the original songs too, along with the background score. But yeah, he's done a lot of really great anime scores, like he did the Fruits Basket remake series, which was really good. He did the Horimiya anime. And yeah, he's speaking of music based, Your Lie in April. Obviously,
jeez. Okay.
obviously he did not compose Beethoven's masterpieces, but yeah, no, the incidental music in that show is also pretty phenomenal. So yeah, no, he's got a great track record.
Nice. Yeah, no, that's what I was gonna ask. Do you know if there's any like they've done with like Paripikome and shows like this? Do you know if they have established like social media accounts, kind of like pretending to like be the characters or anything like that?
No, I should look that up. I mean, I'm sure that every handle they use, they've, made that for real.
Yeah.
Like, surely at Jelly exists on every platform by now.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
Um,
definitely a very social media driven story,
for sure.
which is something that it doesn't appeal to me on its face, but I think they're making it work well, and just the raw character dynamics of it.
Yeah.
All right, well, I believe that if that wraps it up, that does give us a little bit of time for Brand to go over your number one show of the season so far, which I saw this a little bit and thought it did look interesting. So I'm curious to hear your take on it.
Yeah. So I want to talk a little bit about my top and my bottom pick because they're both
Nice.
kind of relevant, and they're both in Hulu anonymity. So it's just like they're gonna be harder to find, and just like in general, a lot of the Hulu shows do not get a lot of press or anything, which is one really unfortunate for Loser Ranger, because I feel like when the manga started coming out the last like couple years, like there was a lot of good talk around it, and I'd been meaning to pick it up, never got the chance, but I'm glad I'm watching the show because it's been really, really good so far. The basic setup is it's like a Super Sentai deconstruction. So it's like, there's like a team of Power Ranger type dudes that are fighting these evil monsters every week, once a week, and they make it a whole show with all the bells and whistles, but it's like secretly, this is all established in the first episode very quickly. It's like secretly they have a deal with the monsters because they had already like eliminated the monsters' bosses, but they're like, we can't just end this gig. It's just too good. So we're gonna like keep like beating you guys up every week, and we won't exterminate you fully, and that'll be a great time. And the monster guys are just like, okay. And it basically follows one monster dude that's like, I'm done getting beat up for 10 years. Like, I'm gonna infiltrate the Rangers and like take it down from the inside. And so far, just like the production value of the show is, I think, the best looking show of the season right now.
Wow.
Yeah, it looks really good. It does a lot of stuff too that I love, where they'll like introduce a character and it'll be like, boom, like their name and title, and like they'll even work it into like the action and stuff. But yeah, it's definitely for me the most impressive looking show, and also just I have like a sweet spot for Super Sentai stuff, and I'm just like really excited to see a show that's kind of like digging into a more deconstruction type of the genre. So yeah, definitely highly recommend Go Go Loser Ranger. So the show on the bottom of my list, The Fable, it's very unfortunate because I just reviewed the first omnibus of the manga. Like Kodansha just released it in the States, almost the same. It's like same week as the show started airing. Also Hulu jail. But I really liked reading the omnibus. It's a series about this guy called the Fable, who's like a legendary hitman. But like things get a little too hot, and he has to lie low, and he like goes to like live in Osaka and just like live a normal life. But he's being like put up by a yakuza group, so of course like he's not going to be able to live his normal life like as easy as he would hope. So it's got like some decent action, but it's also like kind of silly, like more dry humor, and I don't know. I just really liked the down to earth and very like realistic the characters themselves, but also like the art in the manga, very like realistic proportions and stuff. But unfortunately, the anime is being made by Tezuka Productions, who in general their shows are very flat and not great looking. So like the anime, I've watched the first episode and it just like did not look great. And even just based off the first episode, they kind of moved some things around. I feel like I'm being a little nitpicky because I had to like so closely read the first omnibus for the review. But like they moved some things around that I feel like had a lot less impact than the way the first chapter or two were set up. I think it's a really fun series, and I'm gonna keep watching it despite the lackluster production values. Man, it's just gonna end up being one of those series though where every time I talk about it, I'm gonna be like, just go read the manga. It's gonna be the better experience. But yeah, gonna stick with it though. So yeah, that's my top and bottom of the season so far.
All right. Well, is there anything else that Castro? I know there's obviously you got shows in your list that you could talk about if you wanted to. I know we covered kind of a lot of the ones here that are up near the top, but there is like the public school arc for Black Butler.
Yeah, I mean, it educated us about what a public school is in the UK, which is the opposite of what a public school is for Americans.
Huh.
Yep, very interesting.
Interesting.
And then you're also watching Sandland.
Yeah, so, obviously we talked about that a little bit. We recorded the Toriyama episode like the night before the first 7 episodes of the show dropped. So those all came out, and that covered, the first 6 covered the original manga, which is also what the film covered. I think the first 6 episodes were just like the film chopped up with some new scenes added. And then the latter 7 episodes, which there's only one more left to air, is an original follow-up story that Toriyama wrote. So, yeah, that's, it was never one of his best works, and I'm still not quite sold on, like, the CG adaptations of Toriyama designs. I get why they work in theory, but compared to how they come across in like hand-drawn animation, it's just not quite doing it for me. But it's still Toriyama fun, and it's good to see his new original work that he was creating for this story he hadn't touched in 24 years. Unfortunately, with the retrospect that he is not around to see people enjoy it. But yeah, I'm glad it's out and that I'm watching it, because definitely worth checking out at least.
I think it's interesting because it times up because the video game is dropping this weekend, I believe.
Yep.
And it's funny that I agree with you that the Toriyama's designs in 3D definitely just don't hit as hard as standard 2D, but I think the game looks really good in its like cel shaded 3D, and like just seeing like all of Toriyama's mechanical designs like
Yeah.
being put to use and like being able to like run around in a Toriyama designed robot and like customize it. Just like I'm almost curious to like buy the game just because it seems like a fun concept.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can definitely see the temptation.
Yeah. Oh, I guess I just wanted to make one quick note about one more show that I don't see on Kestrel's radar, but I thought you might have been curious about it because I watched the first 2 episodes of Astronaut,
Okay.
which is it's a series that's directed by the guy who directed like Gintama and
Yeah.
High School Boys and the scuba diving one, like that dude.
Okay, that Gintama director. Gotcha.
Yeah. But I was really hoping, and it's got like Gintoki and Kagura's voice actors in it, and I was like, oh, maybe this will be my just like laugh of the week type thing. And I don't know. I dropped it after the first 2 because I was just like very not here for like whatever story they were setting up, and it just like wasn't that funny. So that was kind of disappointing.
Yeah, I've generally found myself disappointed with Shinji Takamatsu's anime after he left Gintama. I mean, Grand Blue was great because the manga is great, but I didn't think it was exceptionally well directed.
Yeah, and I think this is an original too.
He did School Rumble back in the day, even before Gintama. I like that a lot too. But yeah, I think he's done a few originals, and I think all of those have not hit. So I think he's good at taking something that's already kind of like storyboarded out and translating it to animation a little bit better than he is working with a totally new world. Yeah,
that's the gist I've gotten from it too. So unfortunate.
Yeah, but we do have at least one good original this season.
True.
Well, is there anything else, or shall we move into recommendation territory?
Yeah, I think we can wrap it up.
Yep.
Cool. Well, Brand, do you have any recommendations?
Not off the top of the dome, I don't.
I'll throw in a few. We got the Monogatari final season complete Blu-ray set limited edition. If you do not own all those individual ones, or if you do and you're a crazy mega fan, it's not cheap, but it's a nice set. And also, in a few days here, we have Blue Giant finally hitting Blu-ray. So definitely recommend that, since it's been out of theaters for a while, and I don't know that it has any streaming availability on the radar. So definitely buy that on Blu-ray. Fantastic film.
Yeah, I'm gonna pick that up. I just ordered the vinyl. I'm waiting for that to come in.
That is the one thing I got from Tower. The one record I got from Tower Records.
Nice.
So I was disappointed by their anime soundtrack selection. So I was like, all right, I will at least get one.
That's fair.
I've got
Kate, how about you?
So a game came out today, and it's called Another Crab's Treasure, and it is the Dark Souls of crab games. Quite literally, it is a Souls-like, but you are playing a cute little hermit crab, and it's very funny and very colorful. So if you're tired of drab, depressing Souls-like games, but you still want to play something, it's got accessibility options. So if you don't want to like bust your ass trying to play this game, you can go into the accessibility options and like give yourself bigger parry windows and all sorts of crazy stuff, or just give the hermit crab a gun.
Another Crab's Treasure? That's what it was called?
I believe so, yeah.
So you described this not as the crab game of Dark Souls, but as the Dark Souls of crab games. Does that imply that there's an entire genre of crab games?
I mean, there probably is, because,
There sort of is.
Is there?
Yeah, I got this game called Fight Crab a few years ago that was pretty silly.
All right, I guess it's a thing.
And there's a crab battle royale too. I've seen at least one.
Okay. Good to know.
The indie scene is large, and they've pretty much done everything. So
Suppose so.
Yep. The game is very funny too so far. I've only played about an hour and a half, but it's pretty good. And there's like a million other games out too. Playing Yuden Chronicles, playing everything. There's too many games. Too many games.
Always.
And a lot of them are very, very good. So
Yeah. Oh, I guess I'd recommend, if it's still in theaters when you listen to this, but Spy X Family Code White movie. It was silly, fun.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, I was surprised it was in my theater here. Not the fact that it was, but that it wasn't like a one-day Fathom eventy thing. Like this has been in my.
It's like a regular showing. It's weird.
It's a real movie.
It's a real movie.
Anime is big, guys.
That's true.
On my end, I would also recommend the Blue Giant movie, and that's just, I haven't even seen it, but it looks great, and the soundtrack is great, and jazz is great, so
Yes.
support that period.
That movie could have alternately been titled Jazz is Great.
Yeah, jazz is pretty great, right?
That's pretty much what the movie is about. Jazz is great.
So go out and watch that. Grab yourself a copy of it. Especially if you've liked other, jazz-based, like either anime soundtracks or shows like Kids on the Slope and stuff. I imagine if you like that, you'll like this.
Totally.
If you like Hibike Euphonium, go watch Blue Giant.
Yeah, sure.
Why
Also,
not?
the director of Mob Psycho 100. Just throw that
Yeah.
in.
Yeah, so there you go. So there's that. Also, I too am playing several video games. The one I would definitely recommend, at least for the sheer like artistic accomplishment that it is Harold Halibut that came out. That is
Oh, yeah. That is
if Aardman made a video game.
Yeah.
Oh.
Nice.
Yeah, it's all claymation that was hand done and then scanned in 3D so that they could make models out of it. But you can like see fingerprints in
Yeah, right.
and stuff.
That's
awesome.
sick.
Like it's incredible. It's not a very long game. I think it's only like 9 or 10 hours or so, and it's mainly like an adventure style game. So it's more the experience of being in that world. So it's not exactly a game that I think is going to have a lot of like financial success or hit a super wide audience, outside of the fact that it is so lovingly well made in terms of the clay animation and the mood and attitude of the whole thing is fantastic. It's well acted as well. I thought a lot of the voice acting in it was good for sure. So I would definitely recommend playing that, especially if you already have Game Pass, because it's on Game Pass, so you don't even have to buy it. Like, it's just a part of that package. So you could play it, and if you don't like it, no big deal. But I think even at its full retail, it's like $30 or something. So
Okay.
would absolutely recommend that game just to experience something that is definitely way more on the unique side in the field in terms of what is being animated and played and everything. So Blue Giant and Harold Halibut is where I'm going there. But I think that's it for me. So guess it's about time we wrap this show up. So Kate, do you want to do the honors?
Hey, do you know where we are?
We are on fandompost.com. I mean, we're on Facebook.
Why did you make Kate do this?
I don't know why he made me do this. Kestrel, where are we?
We're on everywhere you find podcasts. We're on Apple Podcasts. Probably not on Google Podcasts because it doesn't exist anymore. We are on Spotify. We are on SoundCloud. We are on Alexa, and all the other robots in your house probably know who we are at this point. Any podcatcher you use will have us. You can find us on social media, Fandom Post Radio on Twitter and Facebook, as well as email us, fandompostradio@gmail.com. If you got any input, let us know. And yeah, you can find me on Twitter at FullMetalKyoma. I did go to the LA red carpet premiere of Spy Family Code White, so I wrote a bit about that, so you can find that on fandompost.com. And this season I'm also reviewing Jellyfish Can't Swim at Night and Kate's favorite title, Windbreaker.
Nice.
I'm gonna keep laughing at that.
I
know. You can find me at Cheesy Larry on social media.
Does anyone have that? You got to get that.
Yeah, I gotta check the domain on that.
Yeah, keep rolling with it, Bram. We're gonna ride this until the wheels fall off.
You're the worst.
Okay. Let's check Brando on socials. Latest review, as I mentioned, the Fable Omnibus up on the Phantom Post, and there's 2 more book reviews in the pipeline, so look forward to them.
And as always, you can just find me right here talking about anime and video games and weird regional foods, apparently. So always look forward to that. But yep, exclusivity is right here.
Hell yeah. Paid a lot for those rights.
Huge contract. All guaranteed money, too.
We don't got the Kaiju number 8 countdown, but we got the Kane countdown.
You can find me at fandompost.com and on Blue Sky. You can track me down there, where all the cool kids hang out. And
oh yeah, the new thing.
The new thing. And that's it. That's where I am. That's where you can find me.
You reviewing anything this season?
I'm still reviewing Delicious in Dungeon, and I am reviewing that time I got reincarnated as a slime, season 3.
Wow.
So that's what I'm reviewing this season. And I'm reviewing a bunch of books still. And I've got so many light novels I have to write reviews for. So many light novels. Yeah, so go read my reviews. Because otherwise I'm just screaming into the void.
As we all are.
So as always, thank you everyone for listening. And as Kessler said earlier, if you have any feedback, any suggestions, anything else that you could possibly want to say, let us hear it. And I'm sure we'll address it in one way, shape, or form during a podcast, for better or for worse. But yeah, as always, we will talk to you later.
Ciao.